Senior analyst Rix Tamal pressed his four-fingered hands against the cold glass of the observation chamber. Behind him, 17 other collective analysts sat frozen at their stations, their purple eyes wide with something their species rarely experienced: fear. On the main display screen, the battle was ending. The human fleet had won, again, and none of their calculations had predicted it. "Run the simulation again," Rix Tamal ordered. His voice carried the weight of 40 years studying military tactics across 100 species. He had watched the Kelrani fall. He had documented the extinction of the Groth Empire. He had written 12 volumes on predictable warfare patterns. But humans broke every rule he had ever known. The junior analyst beside him, a young female named Serikan, shook her head slowly. "Sir, I have run it 947 times. The result is always the same. Based on fleet composition, positioning, ammunition reserves, and tactical advantage, the human fleet should have lost. The probability of their victory was less than 3%. Rix Tamal turned away from the screen. Through the observation window, he could see the wreckage of 32 Vorthan warships drifting through space. The Vorthan were considered the most dangerous military force in the galaxy. Their commanders used quantum computers that processed 10 billion variables per second. Their battle strategies were mathematically perfect. They had never lost a major engagement in 800 years of recorded warfare. Until today. "Show me the moment," Rix Tamal said. "Show me where our predictions failed." The main screen flickered. A tactical replay began. Blue icons represented the human ships. Red icons showed the Vorthan fleet. The battle had taken place near the Ketis Nebula, a region of dense gas clouds and magnetic interference. Both fleets had been evenly matched in firepower, but the Vorthan held superior positioning. They controlled the high ground of space, the gravitational anchor points that would give them perfect firing solutions. The human commander was a woman named Admiral Chun Wei-Lin. Rix Tamal had studied her service record extensively. She had grown up on a farming colony. She had no formal military education until age 23. She had risen through the ranks not through political connections, but through an unexplainable ability to win battles that should have been losses. "There," Serikan said, freezing the replay. "This is the moment." The Vorthan fleet had just completed their encirclement maneuver. Every tactical model shows that the humans should have retreated. They had a clear escape corridor. Staying to fight was statistically foolish. Rix Tamal watched the frozen display. The human fleet was surrounded on 3 sides. Their only path to survival was retreat. Every commander in the known galaxy would have recognized this truth. Running was not cowardice when the numbers demanded it. Running was logical. But Admiral Chun had not run. "Play the communication logs," Rix Tamal ordered. The audio filled the observation chamber. Admiral Chun's voice was calm, almost casual. "All ships, this is the Admiral. I know what the computers are telling you. I know what logic demands. But I have been watching these Vorthan commanders for 3 days now. They are too confident. They have never faced an enemy who refused to follow the script. On my mark, all ships will advance directly into their center formation. Do not spread out. Do not seek cover. We go straight down their throats." Rix Tamal felt his scales tighten with discomfort. He had listened to this recording dozens of times. Each time, it disturbed him more deeply. There was no data to support her decision. There were no calculations that justified it. She had simply looked at the enemy and felt something that her instruments could not measure. "Continue playback," he said. The blue icons moved forward. They charged directly into the heart of the red formation. It was suicide. Every analyst in the collective had agreed on this point. The Vorthan commanders would simply tighten their formation and crush the humans from all directions. But that was not what happened. The Vorthan hesitated. For exactly 4.7 seconds, their perfect coordination faltered. Their quantum computers had no protocol for an enemy that advanced into certain death. Their tactical models could not process voluntary destruction. In those 4.7 seconds, the human fleet punched through the center of the Vorthen formation, like a blade through soft flesh. And then the killing began. The humans fought without reason. They targeted ships seemingly at random, ignoring the high-value targets that any sensible commander would prioritize. They wasted ammunition on already crippled vessels. They broke every principle of efficient warfare that Rix Tamal had documented across his long career. Yet somehow, impossibly, they won. "I do not understand," Sarikhan whispered. "How can chaos defeat order? How can feeling defeat thinking?" Rix Tamal had been asking himself this question for 7 years. He had begun studying human commanders after the Battle of Proxima Station, where a human captain had defeated a fleet 3 times his size by hiding his ships inside an asteroid and waiting for 17 hours without moving. When asked why he had chosen that asteroid, the captain had simply said that it felt right. Felt right. These 2 words haunted Rix Tamal. His entire civilization was built on data. The collective made no decisions without extensive modeling and probability analysis. Their cities were designed by algorithms. Their leaders were selected through competency metrics. Their children were educated according to optimized learning curves. Feeling had no place in their society. Feeling was primitive. Feeling was what lesser species relied upon before they discovered mathematics. But humans felt their way through the universe. And somehow, against all logic, they kept winning. "Pull up the other files," Rix Tamal said. "I want to review all documented cases of human intuitive command." The screen filled with data. Hundreds of battles. Thousands of individual decisions. Each one analyzed. Each one labeled impossible by collective models. Commander James Rodriguez at the Siege of New Helsinki. Outnumbered 5-1, he had ordered his troops to abandon their fortified positions and charge across open ground. When asked why, he said the enemy artillery crews looked tired. He could not explain how he knew this. He had been viewing them through a telescope from 3 kilometers away. But he was correct. The artillery crews were operating on 40 hours without sleep. They failed to adjust their firing solutions quickly enough. The human charge succeeded. Captain Yuki Tanaka during the Merchant War. Her convoy was being hunted by raiders. Instead of running or calling for military support, she had ordered her civilian ships to turn off all power and drift silently for 6 days. When asked how she knew the raiders would not find them, she said she had a bad feeling about the alternative routes. 3 days later, collective intelligence confirmed that all alternative routes had been ambushed. Lieutenant General Okonkwo at the Battle of Red Plains. Facing an entrenched enemy with superior firepower, he had ordered a single company of soldiers to walk slowly across the battlefield without weapons. The enemy, confused by this bizarre behavior, held their fire for precious minutes, trying to understand what was happening. By the time they realized it was a distraction, Okonkwo's main force had flanked them completely. Every case followed the same pattern. Human commanders made decisions that no data could justify. They trusted their gut feelings over computer recommendations. They read invisible signals in enemy behavior that no sensor could detect. They won battles that mathematics said they should lose. "There's one more case I wish to discuss," Rix Tamal said slowly. He had been saving this one. It was the case that had driven him to request this meeting with the High Council. The defense of Earth itself. 73 years ago, the room grew quiet. Every analyst knew this story. The Corinth Dominion had assembled the largest invasion fleet in galactic history. 2,000 warships, 15 million soldiers. They had come to claim Earth and enslave humanity. The human defense fleet had numbered just 87 vessels. Their ground forces were scattered across a dozen colonies. By every measure, humanity should have been erased from the universe that day. The human commander was an old man named Admiral William Black. He had been called out of retirement to face the invasion. His service record was impressive, but not extraordinary. He was not a genius. He was not a hero from legend. He was simply a tired old soldier given an impossible task. "Show the critical moment," Rixtamal ordered. The screen displayed the formation of both fleets. The Corinth had arranged their ships in a perfect mathematical pattern, designed to maximize firepower while minimizing exposure. Their position was unbreakable by conventional tactics. Admiral Black had studied the enemy formation for 1 hour. Then he had called his officers together. "I am going to tell you something that will sound foolish," he had said. "But I need you to trust me. The enemy commander is afraid. I cannot prove this. I cannot show you evidence. But I have looked at how his ships are positioned, and I see fear. He's hiding behind his numbers because he does not truly believe he can win. We are going to exploit that fear." The human fleet had not attacked the Corinth formation. Instead, they had broadcast a single message on all frequencies. Admiral Black's voice had filled every enemy ship. "We are humanity. We do not surrender. We do not retreat. And we do not forget. Whatever happens today, you should know that our children will come for you, and their children after them. There is no victory for you here, only a delay. The question is how many of your people will die for a war you have already lost." The Corinth fleet had held position for 3 hours. Then, slowly, they had begun to withdraw. Their commander could not explain his decision. Their tactical computers had screamed that victory was assured. But something in the human message had touched the primitive part of his brain. He had felt the truth of those words in a way that defied logic. The Corinth Dominion never attacked human space again? Rixtamal turned to face his fellow analysts. "We have documented 372 cases of human commanders making decisions based on intuition rather than data. In 78% of those cases, the intuitive decision proved superior to what our models recommended. I do not understand how this is possible. But I understand what it means." He walked to the center of the room. His voice dropped to a near whisper. "It means we have been measuring the wrong things. For thousands of years, we believed that intelligence was the ability to process data. We believed that wisdom was the accumulation of knowledge. We believed that victory belonged to those who calculated fastest and planned deepest. But humans have shown us something else. They have shown us that consciousness contains dimensions we cannot measure, that the universe speaks to them through channels we do not possess. That feeling is not a weakness, but a power." Sarikhan raised her hand hesitantly. "What do you recommend, sir?" Rixtamal looked at the frozen image of Admiral Chung on the screen. She was smiling. She was always smiling in her recorded images, as if she knew secrets that no one else could see. "I recommend that we never go to war with humans," he said simply. "And I recommend that we start learning how to feel." The observation chamber fell silent. 17 analysts stared at their senior colleague with something approaching horror. He was suggesting the unthinkable. He was suggesting that everything their civilization believed was incomplete. But somewhere deep in their ancient brains, in places that had not been used for 10,000 generations, something stirred. Something that recognized the truth of his words. Something that remembered, faintly, what it had been like to feel before their species had evolved beyond such primitive things. Outside the observation window, the wreckage of the Vorthan fleet continued to drift. Perfect machines, perfect calculations, perfect defeat at the hands of creatures who trusted their hearts more than their computers. The universe, it seemed, had a sense of humor that no algorithm could predict.